Hi, my name is Lee Davis, one of the pastors here at Berlin Church in Lewis Center.
And I'm Rick Negley, and we thank you for joining us today.
This past Sunday, Pastor Rick preached from the end of Colossians chapter 3 through the beginning of chapter 4, which deals with Paul's directives towards slaves and slave owners. A tricky passage by all accounts. Rick and I have spent a lot of time over the past week or so talking through this, and we've both preached through passages like this and similar ones in recent years. And so we'd like to deal a little bit more with that topic, both thinking theologically and practically about how we should think and respond. So let's start with some theology, the ways that the Bible looks at this. Rick, why do you think, as we look at the scriptures, that things ended up that way? Why were these horrific relationships there? And then, more hopefully, what does Jesus intend to do about it long term?
Well, God created us to enjoy life and joy and peace in relationship with God and with one another. And that was to be enjoyed in the context of God ruling as king. He is the king over all creation. He's the ruler of all. And yet people rebelled against God and against his king and kingship and his rulership or lordship over them. They wanted to be their own lords and their own masters. And as a result, it not only brought division between them and God, but also division and separation between the humans themselves. And so we see that worked out in all sorts of ways throughout human history. But the good news is that God didn't leave it that way. God didn't abandon us to ourselves, but he sent his son, Jesus Christ, to come and redeem us and rescue us. And that Jesus has made clear in his word that his intent is to one day gather people from every tribe and tongue and language and nation around his throne to enjoy his glorious and loving kingship and leadership. So that's where we're headed. That's where the goal of human history and the goal and the purpose of God in creation is. And so we can look forward to that reality.
So now to the practical. The truth of the matter is a rock, proverbially, was thrown into a pond a long, long time ago in human history and even here in our own country, and the ripples are still coming to shore, tragically. We see this still all over the place, and it comes out in news cycles from time to time where we are left scrambling, trying to figure out how to respond to situations that are largely racially charged, and often we don't exactly know where to go. But I think for us, we can at least think on a very practical, local level. The truth of the matter is, we tend to pursue those that look a lot like us. It makes us comfortable, and often uncomfortable, to pursue those who don't really look like us at all. And so I think one of the most practical things that we can do is have friends that don't look like us. You may think that may be a bit of a strange thing to say, but are we praying as a church, as individuals, for friends that don't look like us? Because as Rick said, if Jesus is moving us toward a trajectory where we will spend eternity with people who don't look like us, so like for me, I will be a minority when it really comes down to it in the eternal state. Most people won't look exactly like me. I'm looking forward to that. But the truth of the matter is, am I living like that now? Am I praying that God may bring me relationships? Am I pursuing relationships, genuinely, of course, with people that don't look like me? Perhaps one of the most practical ways to do that is in our families. My family has chosen to have a family that looks diverse. We did that on purpose because we want to, at least in a small way, embody ideals for what is coming. We have other families in our church who have done the same, and there's great beauty in that. So on a practical level, in our relationships, with our friendships, who we hang out with, who we get to know, even if it stretches us, even if it makes us uncomfortable, it's important for us to be with people who don't think like we think exactly, who don't look like we look exactly, even perhaps down to the most intimate relationships within our family. And we hope that in time that God may help our church look more like this. We have some signs of that, but we have a long, long way to go. And I think lastly, practically, before we close today, one of the best things we can do is just listen. Listen to people who don't think exactly like we think, who didn't grow up exactly like we grew up. Our tendency is to feel like we know everything and have to speak our mind. But the truth of the matter is, we don't always have to give our opinion, but we should listen. May God help us to grow as we listen to those who do not think like we think, who did not grow up like we grew up, who don't live exactly like we live. We can learn a whole lot. And in doing so, we're not exerting power, we're exerting humility, and we're hoping in Jesus. Thank you so much for joining us today. We love you.